see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for the thumbs up. If you have, so we're going to go through the presentation. How this will go is we're each going to introduce ourselves so you can get to know us a little bit better. We're going to talk about some general things that are happening in the pod with 5-6 with all of the team teachers, and then we'll talk about the curriculum that we are teaching and share a little bit about that. So if you have specific questions about your child, please either email us and we can communicate via email, or if we need to set up a meeting, we can set up a meeting. But any general questions, please save till the end, or if you want to put them in chat, we'll come back and we'll look at that. And if a question comes up, so you don't forget, you can put it in chat. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Miss Calder, and I teach 5th grade language arts and 6th grade science and social studies. I just started my 30th year of teaching, which is wild to me. It doesn't seem possible. I got my undergrad degree at Chadron State College. Go Nebraska. My favorite character was Nebraska Mom. Have to put that in there because we made history last night. And I have taught at Lawrence, Kansas, and in southeast corner of Iowa, both special education in an elementary setting, and then I moved to Omaha to a middle school setting, and I taught special education, and then I moved into teaching reading, English, creative writing, social studies. I was the behavior teacher for a year. So I've had a little bit of experience. I absolutely love teaching. I got my master's at Doane in curriculum and instruction. Part of the thing is that I enjoy so much is just the change and being able to teach lots of different things. I moved to Colorado a year ago in May, and I was fortunate enough to get a job at Westgate, and I absolutely love it. I love Colorado. And my hobbies are I love music, sports. Can't wait to go home and watch the Huskers play tonight. And you can see my Green Bay sign in the back. I love music. It's definitely my passion. My kids are kind of my hobby now too. They my son is 27 and he owns his own Avis, Budget, and Uber in Arnold, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis. And my daughter just turned 23. She graduated from UNL in December, and she is working as a case manager in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's just a little bit about me. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Lounsbury.
Hello, I'm Miss Lounsbury. I apologize if I have a slight lisp or it's a little bit hard to understand me. I had a tooth pulled recently, and that's why this side of my face is a little funny looking. So thank you. I'm Miss Lounsbury. I just moved to Colorado this year, but I was born and raised in Colorado. I lived in Louisville, Colorado for the first 18 years of my life. Before I went off to school, I did 2 years in Nebraska as playing softball. And then I transferred to Arizona, where I got my teaching degree in elementary education and English as a second language. I then moved with my husband to Virginia, and I taught in Virginia for the last 8 years. This is my 9th year, and I am now here in Colorado, back home with lots of family, which we absolutely love because we have a darling baby girl who loves being around her grandparents. So it's wonderful. She'll be a year in October, and we're very excited. I teach the fifth grade language arts, 6th grade math, and 6th grade science here at Westgate. I have taught a variety of ages. I've taught everything from 3rd grade to 9th grade. And I've taught 9th grade geometry and algebra and English. So I've had a wide range and a wide experience, going from just being different subjects, English second language, to full classes. And it's really nice to be here. This has been so far, very positive experience here at Westgate, and it's really great to be back in Colorado, back in the homeland. I will.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Lounsbury.
Thank you.
We're going to turn it over to Mr. McGinnis.
Hello. This is my 13th year teaching. I teach 6th grade language arts, 5th grade math, and 5th grade social studies. I'm a returning teacher to Westgate. My very first year of teaching was here, back with Miss Hamilton, teaching the 1-2s. The seniors this year were my first graders back then. I'm happy to return. I came back in the middle of the year, actually, as the 5-6 team was in transition, and joined the school where my kids are all going. So I have 8th grader, 6th grader, 3rd grader, and kindergartner here at Westgate. They've all been here since kindergarten, so I'm very familiar with the school, the community, and the mission. The times that I wasn't here, I was teaching in Jeffco. I taught 3rd grade gifted and talented learners for 5 years, and I taught 6th grade social studies for 5 years, and glad to take all my experience and bring it here to make the learning fun, engaging, and meeting the needs of our learners.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. McGinnis. We're going to turn it over to Mr. Barella.
Hi, I'm Mr. Varela, Richard. I am teaching 5th grade math and science and 6th grade language arts. I've been teaching for 9 years. I was born in Germany and started my educational career there as a little kid, before moving to Tennessee, and then Florida and Massachusetts and Oregon, and here finally. I like to travel, like to go places, I like to see things. As far as my classroom is concerned, diversity is one of my favorite things, one of the most important things to me. Having lived in lots of different places and experienced lots of different things, I think it's really helpful to experience a lot of different things for the students, to read lots of diverse things. Yeah, I am very excited to be here. It's obviously my first year here, but I have been teaching for the last 9 years. I have a bachelor's degree in theater and a master's degree in culturally and linguistically diverse learners. I didn't absolutely love school as a kid, but I always loved learning, and I try to make sure that my students are very excited to learn and try to bring that enthusiasm into the classroom. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barella. We have had a great time getting to know each other and learn about each other. And I think that your kids are really fortunate to have such great teachers that genuinely care about them and want to make learning fun. And so thank you for sharing your kids with us. This next slide is our student services. We've had a lot of changes at Westgate this year. Miss McAleer, Tessa McAleer, she was here last year. She's the director of student services. Maddie Frazier is a learning specialist. And we've added some new positions. We haven't. Sandy Bonnell is also a learning specialist. Dave Chermak is our school psychologist. And these are the new, I got ahead of myself. These are the new positions. Kelly Ledden is our ELD teacher. She replaced Miss Cushing from last year. And Sarah Coe is our reading interventionist and instructional coach. And Christy Kandari, who used to teach in 5th and 6th grade, has moved to a math interventionist and instructional coach. So these wonderful people are supporting us greatly, and we're going to just keep moving forward. Here is your child's daily schedule. If you had a child last year in 5th grade, it's changed slightly. The only thing that has changed is we have specials our specials are right after morning meetings. So we have specials from 8:15 to 9:15. Then we move into our language arts block from 9:15 to 10:45. Then we have math, and then the kids have recess and lunch. We have academic lab, and that's going to look a little bit different this year, where it's going to be more intentional with lots of instruction in math and language arts. And then we have our first science or social studies class, which is our A class. And then we come back to our advocacy, where we have social and emotional lessons. And then we go to our B science or social studies class. And then we come back to our advocacy and clean up and do driveline. And like I said, I mentioned a little bit ago, academic lab is going to be a lot more intentional. Last year it was, completing homework and joy of reading, and we still want the kids to do joy of reading. However, our academic lab time is going to be more intentional and more purposeful, where we're going to be working on math, reading, writing, and if your child has an ALP plan, that would be a good time for them to work on that as well. Grades and how to check. So we will start doing grade checks. Computers have been interesting. Maybe your kids have told you, but we've been working really hard to get all of the kids' computers, and that's kind of been an interesting task, but we will get there. But the kids will be doing grade checks every week, and we thought about doing it on Monday just so that the kids knew what they needed to complete for the week and get done for the week. And we'll communicate more with you on that on our EdLeo pages. But we utilize the Infinite Campus data, so make sure to update this information with the office if you have any changes. As far as like your demographic information, addresses, phone numbers, emails, anything, please communicate with the front desk so we can have accurate records to communicate with you. The students can log in using their student ID, and if they don't know that, we can get that to them. And then they use their Westgate password. If you have any questions about checking grades, you can contact Rochelle Goforth at westgateschool.org for password assistance. So if you're having problems getting into IC, Ms. Goforth is the one to communicate with. Grades. So grace periods for assignment. So there will be set due dates. And if they have a late assignment, the highest grade that they could get would be a 3. They'll be given the opportunity to improve their work that does not meet proficiency. So one of the things that we did last year that I think was really powerful is when we did grade checks, if they didn't have any missing assignments, we added a piece where if they had below a 3, then they were to look at that assignment and think about what they could do to get better at it, because we feel that the learning is the most important thing. And if they're missing a concept, that could possibly catch up with them in years to come. So we want to make sure they're understanding all of the content. If your child receives a 1, please have them redo and submit. And one thing that I think was kind of confusing. So if a student has a missing assignment, we'll put it in as missing. At the end of the quarter, it will go in as a 1. And that way it's still calculated into their grades. And again, if you have any questions about grading, please feel free to contact us. So how are they graded? It's standards-based grading. So a 4 is advanced proficiency. 3 is they're on grade level and they're meeting the standards of where they should be. 2 is they're developing, they're not quite there yet for on grade level, and 1 is below proficiency. Birthdays. If your child is having a birthday, they are more than welcome to bring snacks in. It has to be individually wrapped. And we also have a lot of food allergies this year, both with teachers and students. So please make sure that we are able to read what the ingredients, and absolutely no nuts. Miss Lounsbury is very allergic to nuts, and we really like her. So please make sure that what snacks you are bringing, there the ingredients are listed. So if you want to bring snacks in, just make sure we will be celebrating it from 3:15 to 3:30. So when we're doing that cleanup time right before car line. We will also celebrate half birthdays if your child's birthday is in the summer. So feel free to send the treats in during that time. And if your child has any allergies or dietary restrictions, it's great to supply the teacher with the safe alternative treats. Miss Lounsbury, did you want to talk any more about anything or?
I just wanted to share, so far, all the kids have been doing a really great job. They've been especially respecting like my room being an up-free room. And when in doubt, if they're not sure, they come up to me with the snack and say, does this have anything I can't eat in it? And I very much appreciate it. And I feel very loved and safe here. And if there are any allergies or concerns or questions about anything, please feel free to email me. I am happy to answer what can be eaten, what cannot be eaten.
And here's a fabulous picture of what is okay and what is not okay. And I honestly didn't update this. It may change just because of Miss Lounsbury's allergies. But obviously on the left, the yes, the prepackaged things, the no are things that are not individually wrapped. Quality and expectation due dates. So, oh, I guess this was part of grades. It got out of order. Sorry about that. So we do allow for grace periods for longer assignments and due dates. And especially if your child has accommodations where they have extended time, we will definitely honor that. I think we all are very understanding and meet kids where they're at. So if a kid is struggling or they're going above and beyond on a project or an assignment, we will give kids grace period. Late missing work will be taken until the end of the unit. With a credit of a score up to 3. They'll be given the opportunity to improve work that does not meet proficiency. If your child receives a 1, please have them redo. Oh, I guess it was the same slide. Sorry about that.
How cute.
Classroom pages, staying connected. So wait, how can you stay connected with us? I think the biggest one is we are working really hard this year to keep our Edleo posts updated. We have a school newsletter that's emailed to you. We have monthly updates on our advocacy page, and I think we've all kind of been working on those advocacy every week. I think there's been so much information lately that we've just been putting all of that information out. And every week you will have subject updates. So be sure to subscribe to those Edleo posts. We all sent emails out to you. If you are having troubles, please communicate with us and we'll be more than happy to help you. We have a calendar on the school website. There's an events page on there as well. We are keeping up with our assignments where the kids will be receiving grades, 2 grades for each class that they're in, and Microsoft Teams. And I think, yeah, okay. Work at home policy. Typically, WISC students do not have schoolwork to complete at home. We want them to have time to be kids and spend with their families. I know that some kids get really excited about projects. I just had a student today go, can I take this home and work on this at home this weekend? And that's fine, but I want you to know that that's not our policy. That we give kids time in class to work. We want to make sure that they are being kids because they do need that time to be a kid and have family time. There are certain situations if a kid is not doing work and we give them time and advocacy, we'll communicate with you and let you know that and come up with a plan. So there might be some times where, if we come up with a plan as a partnership that you want your child to bring homework home, then we will do that. But that's not our policy here at Westgate. Gifted education for all. Each student provides gifted education to every student. We try really hard to do differentiation here. We feel like it's really important and we want to meet kids where they're at. not every kid is learning the same or at the same level. So we work really hard to make sure that every child is getting what they need. So we do project-based learning with choices, self-directed or group effort, self-evaluation rubric grading, social emotional enrichment activities, high expectations for every student. They learn to be proficient and advanced by working in whole groups, small groups, and individual groups. And like I said, I think that our team is really great about meeting kids where they're at. I know that if I give kids projects, I give them suggestions and ideas, but then I always let them, kids are great and they have awesome ideas. So if they come to me and say, hey, I want to do this, and if it's an okay thing, then go for it, because they are so much more creative sometimes than we are. Curriculum map and questions. So the curriculum website is listed below, and this will also be uploaded onto a YouTube site for you to go back and refer to if you need to, or you can always ask us as well. The website shows what units are being taught, and it gives them some insight of what specific information your student will be learning. We are all really diligent about following the state standards and making sure that our students are getting everything that they need that Colorado says that they should. Team information. So these are all of our emails, and they are also on the Westgate EdLeo page as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. That's probably the best way to initially communicate with us. If we need to have a phone call or a meeting, we can set that up via email. But if you send an email to us and we do not get back to you right away, we will get back to you within 2 working days. So just to let you know that if we don't get back to you right away, we will be getting back to you. So here we go. Who teaches what? So social studies and science, and I'm just going to let you read through that, and we're each going to take a little bit of time to talk about the subjects that we're teaching. So I'll give you a minute to just look over that. Oh. I'm sorry, I did not change this. It should be Mrs. Lounsbury. I thought I did and I didn't. That's my bad. So for 6th grade math, it's Mrs. Lounsbury and Miss Calder. My apologies, Miss Lounsbury. I thought I changed it, but I probably had a million things going on in my mind.
Yep, I'm the other 6th grade math teacher.
What will we be doing during advocacy? Here are some things that we will be working on in advocacy, and our new high school principal, I call her Mrs. V because I can't ever say her name right, but she's done a fantastic job of creating lessons for us. And so we have this bank of lessons and activities to do with the kids. This last month, we have been focusing on RISE, and we will be focusing on mindful activities, social emotional development, community building, career exploration, checking grades, and helping with late homework. One thing that the kids are super excited about that we've been doing in advocacy every Wednesday and will continue is they have 1st and 2nd grade reading buddies, and they've met them. And then just yesterday we went in, and the 1st and 2nd grade students, they read books to their buddies, and it was fantastic. And it was the sweetest thing ever to see our students building that Westgate community and just engaging with each other. So ask your student about that if you haven't, because it's been, and we're going to continue to do that throughout the year. RISE and behavior. We are here to learn. We follow respect, integrity, safety, and empathy is what RISE stands for. We do use love and logic choices with the kids. new teachers are highly qualified and they aligned with Westgate policies and procedures. And everybody, like I said, we are becoming a great 5-6 team. We're still learning about each other, but I think we're all on the same page, and we love working with kids, and we love being here for them. And so it's going to be a really strong, powerful year, I believe. Behavior protocols. So this is what we are going to be following, all of us in our pod. If they don't follow the RISE expectations, we're going to emphasize first on positive reinforcement through RISE recognition. We have new RISE slips that have you can tear them off. The kids put it in this tub, and drawing is, there's a drawing. And so the more RISE tickets a student has, the higher chance they have of winning a prize or lunch with a teacher. There's a whole menu of things that the students can earn. But we really want to focus on that positive, because that's building the partnership with students. If that doesn't work, our level 1 will do a verbal and nonverbal warnings, maybe just simply walking over next to the student, and saying, and just standing next to them. Sometimes that's enough. Or you might say, remember RISE, are you being respectful? I think we all try really hard to use that language, like, are you being respectful in the hallway? Or thank you for showing integrity, or thanks for being safe. We try to do that because, again, kids will partner with us at that level. Level 2 is one-on-one restoration conversations, and we'll send an email home. So that would look, what would that look like? We would pull the student maybe just outside the door and have a conversation with them. You're not in trouble. What are you doing? What should you be doing? And kind of come up with an informal plan. And we would email home and communicate with you if it got to that level. Level 2 is the student might have a refocus slip where they would go into another teacher's classroom and just kind of do a reset, a refocus slip. Again, thinking about what is the behavior you should be doing, what were you doing, how are you going to correct it? And we will be communicating home. We'll be communicating with Mrs. Dewar and set up a meeting and if needed, an individual intervention plan. Okay, now we're going to get into the subject areas. So Miss Lounsbury and I, we teach 5th grade language arts. And Miss Lounsbury, would you like to talk about our language arts so far?
Sure. We have our daily flow of, first we have a warm-up, and then we review that warm-up. We have it going over different grammatical and different language and spelling rules.
Language arts.
So that way we can go over different pieces of our development in language and language acquisition and everything. We also then do an uninterrupted writing for 20 minutes every day. And that's really, really important because students at this age, it's really easy for them to think of an idea, pound it out onto a paper and go, I'm done. And it takes 5 minutes. But we want to make sure that they are able to find that time and find the ability to not only take their time, but get more ideas and build off more than what they just initially think. So writing for 20 minutes is a really good way to make sure that they practice their writing endurance. And in reading right now, where each class is doing a book study right now. My class, we're doing Hatchet, and in Ms. Calder's class, they are doing Wonder. And so we are going through the elements of fiction right now, each through these fictional stories. We also have different writing units we're working on. Students are currently wrapping up personal narratives for us, but they will also be working on informative writing, persuasive writing, doing some biographies and poetry throughout the year as well.
Thank you, Ms. Lounsbury. Mr. McGinnis or Mr. Varela, would you like to speak about the 6th grade?
You want it, or would you like me to? Oh, you're muted, Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you. Sure we can. I'll open up a little bit and then we can share this. So there are some things that we changed on the list. We wanted to be more standards focused on it as we've taken over the curriculum here, but a lot of the stuff, may still be continued as it's got, good engagement factors in for teaching the standards. Currently, we've been going through a paired text with nonfiction World Without Fish, and we'll be starting Flush next week. Really trying to help them see kind of the author's purpose and to practice some inferring and using text evidence to support their understanding. I also do warm-ups of using just daily language review, helping them to catch all those little things of punctuation and spelling for their writing. We also use the writer's notebook and by Ralph Fletcher specifically, for those of you who know, to really help create that curiosity and wonder and empowering the students to find their own voice in writing and to discover things about themselves and what they're curious about, so that writing can be more of a joy than a task or a chore. But yeah, as things will be shifting this year as we go. Richard and I are excited to build some units that will hopefully increase your students' desire to grow as readers, as writers, and to really show off the quirks of what makes them unique and makes them passionate about engaging the world. What would you like to add to that, Mr. Varela?
Yeah, I think just going back to something I mentioned earlier, I think the diversity of writing, I think, is going to be a real key point for us this year. I'm going to try to hit a lot of different genres while also still making sure we're focusing on the three core writing styles of informational, argumentative, and narrative. Along with that, we're going to really try and tie whatever it is that we are writing about to our reading, so that those two things kind of meld together and that the students can use what they are seeing and reading as a guide or milepost for them during their writing time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Fifth grade math. This is both Mr. McGinnis and Mr. Varela again.
I'll let you open first, Mr. Varela.
Oh, sure. I'll read the left bits. I've been teaching sixth grade English language arts is new to me. I've been teaching fifth grade for the last few years, so I have a lot of experience with this. I love the fifth grade standards quite a bit, but we're going to be talking about place value concepts, numerical expressions, adding and subtracting decimals, multiplying whole numbers, multiplying decimals, dividing whole numbers, dividing decimals. Fifth grade is a pretty big year of kind of transition, in particular in mathematics, in the sense that students are going to really start to dive into fractions a lot this year. And so having a lot of the fundamental skills in basic arithmetic is necessary in order to understand fraction arithmetic. So I'm really excited to kind of help them transition to that understanding, and also to show them that, what they have learned up till now is going to be still of use and continuing on going forward.
Yeah, and then the second half of the year, we get into, some of the harder stuff, but, I think sometimes hard is just the fun of the challenge, I guess, and at least trying to help them know and engage when we add and subtract, multiply and divide fractions, get into converting measurements, both, traditional and metric, patterns and coordinate planes, understanding volume, and classifying two-dimensional shapes. They always put geometry at the end. So one of the things, so I'm familiar with Big Ideas. Big Ideas gives us a lot to work with to structure things. I believe in using a workshop model as I do the lessons, and then the workshop model is then responsive to the students grasping the content, allowing them the ability to move faster and push ahead, while at the same time circling back and helping students who are struggling with specific skills. And for those of you who have known and loved Mrs. Kandari, who you saw earlier, that was still on the slide. She's not gone. She's our math intervention specialist, and she will be pushing into classrooms and supporting me as I use this workshop model to support our kiddos who need that that extra loving care when it comes to math, because I know some of them are dealing with that feeling of frustration towards math, and we're trying to help them get a growth mindset around it, believe that they can learn these things and that it's not as painful as it may seem to let on that it feels, and try to build their confidence. Is there anything, Mr. Villa, you'd like to add? That
Yeah, just want to add one more thing, just so you all are aware. We are doing a 4-day kind of rotation of sorts. So Monday and Tuesday, we'll do a traditional math unit. And then on Wednesdays each week, we are doing brain teasers and kind of rehashing some elements that students may have struggled with. And then back to Thursday and Friday, just doing another kind of traditional lesson.
I forgot to mention, you may have already seen this in Friday folders, but as we complete lessons, there are exit tickets that are sometimes entrance tickets. But either way, I'm sending those exit tickets home. That's my kind of constant feedback of knowing where they're at and getting something. And when they go home, I'm also attaching the extra practice and different things that have come from the Big Ideas resource. This is not homework. They do not have to do it. My goal is with this is to communicate what they've shown that they've done. It'll have the notes of my corrections on it, or the smiley face if they got it right. But it'll provide additional work that you can work with them at home if you are seeing what it is that they need to practice on. Because even though we're no homework school, I don't want to remove the parents' role into being able to partner with us in your child's education, because especially with something like math, it just sometimes takes a little more practice and rote application to be able to get it. So you'll be able to find those in the Friday folders. Thank you for making time to support them, and please email us if you have any questions regarding some of the work that's coming home and the kind of errors that you're seeing and what to do to help them. In the Edleo, I'll be posting different things for each unit that you can already be doing at home, so you don't have to wait on that correspondence through the Friday folder, that you could be doing at home if you already know, like, oh yeah, my child needs something creative to engage them in this concept instead of feeling like they're being tortured with more school at home. So look for that in the Edleo.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Next up, we do have 6th grade math that Miss Lounsbury and I both teach. And Miss Lounsbury is going to talk about that, start by talking about that.
Yeah. So in 6th grade math, we kind of take the next step from 5th grade. We've started off this year with learning about numerical expressions, factors, talking about the greatest common factor, least common multiple, and we will continue to build upon different things that students have learned. And we also continue to spiral back to things from 5th grade as well, so that we were getting continued review, because everything builds upon each other. So it's very important in our math class that we spiral back to things through workshop models and providing students different experiences and different practices on needed areas and different areas in which they and different skills that they can build upon. We are working very closely with Miss Kandari. She is she's a very big help to us, and we are making sure to not only we are sticking with, of course, state standards, utilizing Big Ideas as our curriculum, and also making sure that any practice or anything that's missed can be sent home, and also being sent back home for review as well. Any questions that you have for Miss Calder and I, we are happy to answer. We're also always happy to provide any additional resources and things like that. I know on my Edleo, I like to post videos about what we are learning. So that's always a great source, because sometimes you just need to hear another voice and see other examples as well for different topics. And it can end up being a really good place to just get a visual review and an audio review as well. Anything else for you, Ms. Calder?
I think something that's really important that's kind of come up a lot this year is we're trying really hard to do diverse or differentiation with the kids for math. There's a lot of kids who need extensions, and so that's something that we will be providing for them. So I want everybody to understand that we, again, like I said earlier, we are just really meeting the kids where they're at, because I know in my math class, I have math groups, and at first the kids are like, "Oh, I'm in this group," and I just give them random colors. But just this week, my groups have been so fluid and back and forth because some kids are getting it and some kids aren't, and so I'm switching the groups all around so they don't ever know. And the grouping isn't. I don't want the kids to ever feel like, oh, I'm in the low group or the high group or whatever. I've told them that they're very fluid and they move around all the time because we want to make sure that kids are understanding those math concepts, because math builds on so many things. So if they are not getting something, they need that foundation for something later on in the year or even years to come.
Also, if there's a topic that we hit in the beginning and we continue through our units, it will be hit again in future units as well. So if a student has not mastered a certain standard in our first unit, it may take them until the third unit to go, oh, now I get it. And sometimes it just takes time, more experience, and also just more connections to other things that they have mastery of for everything to click. So you may see that maybe the first unit, it may be really hard, but then the second unit, they're slowly getting better and they might build up to that mastery. And so that's that important thing to know about, especially with our grading scale when we're going through our 1, 2, 3s, and 4s. I know a lot of parents get excited and think that a 4 is equivalent to an A, and that is not the case. I like to think about the grading scale more like a bike, riding bikes, for instance. So if you are starting off on a bike, you are on a bike with training wheels, you've got a parent nearby, you need somebody to help guide you all the way. Second, once you start learning your bike, maybe you have the parent holding the handlebar for you. That's a 2. 3, you're able to ride around the block by yourself with your friends. And then a 4 is being able to go to the skate park and do a couple tricks. You can figure out how to do it. So 4 is a really big jump as well. So don't think that all 4s is always the main goal, because 3s is where we want them to be. We want every kid to be able to ride a bike on their own and feel confident. Not every kid's going to be able to go to the skate park and do the half pipe.
Great analogy, Ms. Lounsbury. Love it. 5th grade social studies. Back to Mr. McGinnis.
All right. So currently we're in the geography part of our learning of the United States, breaking it down in region. We'll have projects based around that. That should be fun, that they'll jigsaw and research and know the different regions and engage and have choice in what they want to learn about as we learn. And as we lay that foundation of the land of the United States and how it is currently, we will then transition into our Native American unit and understanding North America, specifically United States, before European colonialism, and then we'll get into the birth of our nation through colonialism and how things have led up to the Constitution that we have today, all the while working in economics and civics and those aspects that applied throughout the history of that area and how it shaped the land. And they'll be able to hopefully then by the end of the year see a bigger picture of the connections of why certain parts of the country are the way they are, and how they can connect to the current issues ongoing since.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. I teach 6th grade social studies, and we are also in geography. We're learning the 5 things of geography, and I found the cheesiest song known ever, and the kids love it. So ask them to sing it for you if you have a sixth grader, because they were like, the first time they were like, what? And now they're like, can we listen to that song again? So we're working on 5 themes of geography. They're currently chose a place and they're doing research on the 5 themes of geography. And then we're going to move into history. We'll talk about ancient civilizations, move into the early Native Americans, and excuse me. Then we'll move into economics and civics. The way I like to teach social studies is I get the information out with notes, and vocabulary are very important. We read text, primary sources, and make sure we're just getting that all in our brains. And then instead of doing the traditional tests, I always have the kids do a project so that they are showing their knowledge. And they are researching, they're sharing their knowledge, and they're also sharing their findings with the class. Next up, we have 5th grade science. Back to Mr. Varela.
So we're starting off with physical sciences, which we have been working on right now, which is states of matter and transitions of matter, transitions of energy. Students this week, we got to do a little project outside where we figured out how energy from the sun was transferred into a wiffle ball that we were hitting, which was a fun little experiment. We created a little graphic organizer for that. Today they took a test on energy where they went outside and tried to find as many examples of each of the different types of energy that they could, and explain how they know that type of energy is what they're seeing. So the physical sciences are what we're working on right now. Then we'll go into life sciences, which is basically just the different animals and really how they get their energy and how they transfer that energy to other creatures, humans through eating other animals, or plants through photosynthesis, things like that. And then finally, earth sciences, we're going to be talking about luminosity and phases of the moon and how the moon affects the earth, the earth's location in the universe, and in our solar system, and how all of that kind of comes together to create the system that we have here on our planet.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Varela. Next up, we have Mrs. Lounsbury again, and she does 6th grade earth science.
When we start moving into middle school science, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we take as different subset of all the standards. So in 6th grade, it is all earth science. We talked about the scientific method, and now we are currently on the layers of the earth and plate tectonics. And we are just starting to move into plate tectonics and how that shapes our world and how that creates and changes our world, making different weather. Talk about weather, erosion, earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis, and how those are all connected. We will later move into the sun and the moon cycles and how that is all connected. And then we will move into the atmosphere and the water cycle. We touched a little bit on the atmosphere and why that is important to the Earth's crust. And we will continue then to talk about global climate and also more about geologic time and the importance of how we've been able to use things like fossils and sonar and many different technologies to understand how old our Earth actually is.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Lounsbury. Well, first of all, we want to thank you for being here. We couldn't do this without you, without your support. We hope that you have some answers to some of the questions that you have. But we're going to open it now up to you if you have questions. If you just would feel free to type your comments into the chat, and we would be more than happy to help to answer your questions.
I do apologize. I'm driving, so I cannot text. I'm Marley's
Oh.
mom. Yeah, so I was wondering, as far as getting into Miss Kandari's like math readiness and the other kind of interventions, what exactly are the criteria that our kids are having to meet to get those interventions?
Well, we're working, it's a work in progress. I will say that we are using data. We're using the MAP scores, the CMAS scores, and then all of the work that we've done, the writing assessment, and then we do pre-tests in math and stuff. At this point, all of the kids are really going to be getting all of the interventions during academic lab. Miss Kandari and Mrs. Is it Co? Is that? Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not very good with names. But both of those ladies are supporting us and coming up with lessons and help for us. And so that is something that we're going to work really hard, because we realize that with the years or the time off because of COVID, when things were shut down, there's lots of holes with all students. And so we really want to make sure that we're addressing those holes. So that's really the point of this. So we're all just really working at it together and making sure the kids are getting what they need. So we're doing lots of like pre-tests and seeing what those holes are, so we know exactly what to focus on with the students. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
I'll have to add that, like, so for example, I already know I have Ms. Kandari coming in to visit with my students who are missing like certain concepts they just did not get. They just took their Unit 1 test. And so I'm going to need some support in revisiting those. And so students like Marley can get very specific, immediate response to helping with certain skills and concepts.
And that's a great point, Mr. McGinnis. Thank you for that. Ms. Kandari is going to be present in our classrooms as well. She's trying to figure out her schedule and where she can best support us. So it's a work in progress, but Mrs. Kandari is very eager and ready to be in the classrooms and do what she loves, which is math. So she will be in our classrooms as well. She will be in academic lab. I think once we get going and we figure out what the skills are that the kids need, there will be some small group instructions and so forth. And we will be communicating that with you along the way. Since these are new positions, we're trying to figure out what is the best way that Mrs. Kandari and Ms. Co can support our students and us. So we will be communicating with you how all of those things will go. Thank you for asking. Are there any other questions? Yes, thank you. Are there any other questions that anyone has?
I know we have somebody typing right now.
I do have a question. I was trying to put it in the chat and couldn't figure it out. Sorry.
No problem.
Wondering, our son it's his first year at Westgate, and I'm just wondering if so he's a 5th grader and he's in a 5th grade math class. And I don't know, will there be any like adjustment to placements after the assessments that were done last week? Or is everyone pretty much set where they will stay?
Any student who needs to be adjusted will either be accommodated for in the classroom or have that adjustment made, and we will have had a conversation with you about that. So when in doubt, we will have when in doubt, if it's we're looking at the whole year in all standards. So it may be a student may be very bright in one area, but may not have mastered all of the standard or all of the standards in that grade level. So when we reach the points of their strength, we will be providing them areas that they can excel in.
Yeah, this is where we also collect a body of evidence to kind of help support it. There needs to be some consistency in their ability to demonstrate that they're needing to be pushed into a higher classroom level. MAP data is definitely one of the driving things. and then we'll bring in the other things as needed. And like Ms. Lounsbury said, we'll be definitely in communication if we're seeing that kind of movement, because we're not going to move students without you being aware of that and okay with that.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And I just want to let you know, I got a warning that we have now it's 4 minutes left in our meeting. So if you get cut off, I don't want to be rude, but I just want to let you know that happened. I'm not really familiar with Microsoft. I'm more of a Google person. So I just want to make you know, I want to make that known. So there's a question that it looks like your child was unable to take the maps portion of the last semester, unable to do that next semester.
We've taken into consideration more than just the test score last year. The test score definitely helps us know where they ended the year, but we've done pre-tests and pre-assessments at the beginning of this year as well to help us, because we know that there are many students who continue to have continued learning throughout the summer, and that can be something that boosts or changes. We know that there can be shown mastery in different areas, and there can also be a summer dip as well. And students who may have scored really well in the maps, all of a sudden with the pretest we need to review some different subjects as well. So we've been doing lots of data collection, lots of reviewing of strengths and weaknesses, and that's been a big place of where we've been looking at our students and seeing how they're doing.
Yeah, we are looking at multiple things, not just one. So if your child didn't finish a test or something, no worries. We're looking at the whole child, not just a piece of them.
Well, and then also with math specifically, we do a pre-course test, so it's not just based on maps, that has them take a test that's based on all of the learning they'll be doing for the year. This helps us quickly identify students that need to be moved, so because if they already know like 80% of what we're going to teach them this year, then there's definitely things that we can do to change things before we get too far in. But yeah, so it's not just the map testing. We also do a pre-course at the beginning of the year that we also do at the end of the year, so that we can measure the growth on the same types of questions.
It looks like we only have about 2 minutes left. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And like I said, we will get back to you. We sure appreciate you all being here. And have a great rest of your night, and go Big Red.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Why are we cheering for the gum again?
Hey, stop it. How do I stop recording?
I don't know.